Hey folks, how are you going? Today we're doing something a little bit different. Obviously, I'm on a different workbench. And there might be a little bit of echo in the room because it's not very fitted out right now, but this is where I'm working for now. And we are looking at the Banana Pi BPI-RV2. So this is a RISC-V router board, and I'm kind of excited about that. I actually think it's pretty awesome. I got the PoE version, and that's because I'm going to be using this in production between two different sites. I'm also probably going to be back to making a video a week at the moment because I have such a backlog of cool stuff to show you all and to test out myself. But I got two of these, and thank you to my patrons. Your funding helped pay for them, and I'm using them as a bridge between two sites. I've got one set up already with WireGuard. However, that was an absolute nightmare. There are so many things that are worth knowing, primarily around Open-WRT, not even this device, that I'm going to show you to help you get set up. And it's only as of about 2 weeks ago that this is even doable now. So without further ado, let's get into it. So firstly, looking at the specs here, you can see it's actually pretty good. It's got the SiFlower 4-core RISC-V processor. It's got a built-in NPU, which is a network processing unit in this case, not neural. It's got half a gig of DDR3 RAM, which is perfectly fine for a router board. It's got a 2.5 GB or gigabit network port and 5 1 gigabit ports. So that's 2.5 gig WAN by default. And then you've got all the LAN ports. You've got 128 meg of SPI NAND flash. You've also got 16 meg of SPI NOR flash. So you pretty much leave an image on there as a backup, and you can swap some jumpers. You can see those jumpers over there in the corner, or those ones, to boot to the NOR flash to recover, but you pretty much want to use NAND flash all the time. You've also got NVMe support and Wi-Fi support through M.2 interfaces. You've got an RTC battery spot, and if you get the right model, you've got PoE network power support. So you can see here it's got built-in, where are we? So Type-C console interface, UART pins built in, and a whole pile of things around it, including GPIO, so you can hook it up to more stuff if you want. And of course, the WAN interface, you're not going to be able to access it through with the default image because it's going to block all WAN ingress. You need to connect to it through the LAN port. So when I set it up, I actually connected both. I just used the WAN port for PoE, and I accessed it through the LAN port. You can then, of course, remove this from being a WAN interface and add it to the LAN. And that's what I'm doing, because I'm using it as a router on a stick. On the bottom, you can see there's that other M.2 slot, which is B-keyed, I think it is, and you've got a smaller CR1220 RTC battery port. But the cool thing is, what I think is awesome, oh yeah, there's a case too, and I did actually get one of those. So I've got this here that I will put it in, and I've already put the other one in. But the device itself is kind of incredible. So this NPU that it's got built in, if we go back and have a look, so it's 12 nanometer fabrication, 64-bit RISC-V processor, supports L2 and L3 hardware offloading, IP, V4 and V6 dual stack, 20 gigabit switching, full byte wire speed forwarding. It's got network side support for most interface speeds and types. It's really quite incredible. The fact that it's doing L2 and L3 on hardware with full offloading of everything else and plenty of switching capacity is pretty awesome. You'll find that a lot of stuff will do software switching or won't have much hardware offloading. And I thought it's not going to be that snappy. It's not going to perform that well, but Jesus Christ, does it perform. So if we have a closer look at the board itself here, you can see it's pretty nicely designed. Autofocus might want to kick in one day too. There we go. Pretty nicely designed, and there are those jumpers there. So when you've got them going long ways like that, that's going to be your NAND flash, which is what you usually want to use, and that's this boy over there. But you do have this NOR flash. So if you take these off and you rotate them that way around and put them back on, that's when it's going to boot from the NOR flash. So we'll put those back for now. We want to use NAND. I'm not going to bother with an SSD or adding a Wi-Fi card to it. I will put an RTC battery in there. I've got some spares of those that I just ordered, and we will use the PoE when it's in production. But for now, I've just got a 2 amp power supply. So this interface doesn't actually say on there, unfortunately, it just says DC in, but I double checked and it's 12 volts. So I've got a 12 volt, 2 amp power supply. What we're going to do is we're going to boot it up and flash it with the latest image, and I'll show you the problem with the image too so you don't get caught. Oh, I actually forgot to say, it's got a bloody nano SIM slot too. So that's kind of badass. But yeah, we'll flash it because the way to flash it, there's a few ways. Of course, you can do it through the firmware and you can do it with the USB cable. We're going to do it with the USB cable and the built-in serial bridge instead of using the dedicated debug ports. And you interrupt U-boot and then tell it to launch a HTTP daemon, and then you, daemon, and then you upload it through there. And I found that easiest and quickest. The last thing though is SiFlower. Interestingly, I was reading about them, and also this is not how you hold electronics, but I was reading about them and I think they've actually gone defunct, which has me very curious. Either way, if there's plenty of their SoCs around and they work well, I've got no issues, but that is certainly interesting for such a new product, especially one that is only usable since March 2026. Prior to that, you couldn't do diddly. So now I'm going to get it plugged in, got the power cord here, and you'll see, if we get the box out the way, you've got two lights that usually come up straight away. That's going to be your power light. There is always that floating network light, and I don't fully understand what's going on there. But then when it does boot, you get another light. So obviously right now, we don't have very much going on. Now, we want to put an image on it, but we've got to download it. So this is where the next issue came in. When I started downloading this, I didn't exactly understand what was going on with all these different files. So you can see they've got 4 different files here, and you've really got to look closely. So this one is a completely different SoC. That's SF19A28 for whatever reason. What we've got has this. Now you can see as well, there is a NAND full flash. It's not a sys upgrade version, so we don't want to use that one either. That leaves us with these 2 different files. And what you can see here is that they're based on a different Open-WRT BSP. However, that still doesn't work. The problem here is that this is essentially a nightly build. And so none of the package repos actually worked. When I set that up, I was finding that the CA certificates weren't included. It couldn't pull from the repos because SSL wasn't working. I couldn't manually fix that up. I made it not check certificates, but then the URLs were wrong. It couldn't pull packages.gz. It was kind of all over the place. And if you have a look here, if we go to the latest of 24, there's no SiFlower in here. What was actually happening is that this was under, I can't even remember where, but it was a nightly snapshot essentially. And the problem there is that that's only supported for a very limited period of time. Thankfully though, in 25, if we go back to it, they added targets, SiFlower, which is awesome. This first one though, unfortunately, has a bug. So I was very excited. I thought, look at that, BPI-RV2 NAND sys upgrade, that's what we want. But this one doesn't work. LuCI, the user interface just doesn't load, and there seem to be some other errors with it. So I couldn't get it working, but thankfully, 25.12.1, released March 18th, works a bloody treat. This thing worked straight away for me. So SF21, we want the RV2 NAND sys upgrade file. Let's download that one. Now, before we go any further, I want to cut in with a quick PCBWay ad read. I haven't done one in a little while. I was doing videos on those mini PCs, but I'm back to my normal stuff now. And what that means is you do get some ad reads because they kind of fund this. And you know what? I'm going to be doing more 3D printing in some upcoming videos. So it might be worth looking at the 3D printing capabilities that they've got, because honestly, they can print heaps of stuff. It is really neat. And when you're selecting your material, they actually give you a lot of options. So you can pick all sorts of different options depending on what you're trying to print. And they've got really good support. If you're not too sure, you can actually talk to them about it. Of course, it does get expensive if you're printing stainless steel, but you can print anything, which is awesome. So thank you, PCBWay, for sponsoring. It's time now for us to get back to some RISC-V routing. So the next thing then is going to be connecting this up. So we'll be using the USB port there, which gives us access to the debug interface through this little bridge that they've got there. So I'm going to grab my USB cable, connect that up, and I'll be back in just a moment. All right, that is all connected now with a very nice long 3-meter USB Type-C cable. So if we go back over to the computer and have a look at Device Manager, we've got this COM3 port that's just appeared. So what it can do is launch PuTTY, serial, COM3, and if we check this, I'm pretty certain, doesn't even say, look, this documentation is really a bit limited, which is quite frustrating. This is most of what they give you. Getting started guide. So you've got a little bit here. It's very nondescript. It's whatever IP address you give it, and you want to give it one that's in your network range when you plug it in. But we should be able to see here 115200, and that's where it states 12 volt 2 amp as well. So if we go 115200 and we connect to that serial interface, then over on the board, I'm just going to hit this little reset button. So if we watch this, and you know I'm even going to do, I'm going to go appearance, change settings. Appearance, let's make this a little bit easier for everyone to see. There we go, standard boot sequence. And you can see it was trying to boot from the NAND there, but there is actually something there in the NAND. Let's have a look what was going on. DDR3 training, OpenSBI, there's all of your details there. Hands over to U-boot, we've got 22.01 there, and it actually comes with an image and boots. Let's plug in a network cable and see what we got. Won't be a moment. Now, if I just plug this in, it's going to be giving out DHCP on its own subnet. So what I want to quickly do before I plug that in is go VI etc config network, and in here I want to set the default IP address to be on my range, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to get to it. So I'll make it 10.42.20, let's just say .222. That's definitely going to be available, and all we have to do is set that. We can even we'll just go etc init.d network restart. So now that's all done, and if we have a look, it's got our preferred IP address in it. That means back down here I can plug into this LAN interface, and this is actually the PoE interface, so I don't even need the power anymore. Sorry, the WAN is a PoE interface, my bad. There we go. Hey folks, this is actually future me here now, because past me made a mistake. I don't know if you noticed, but in the first half of this video, the audio might have been slightly off. Turns out my mic was crapping out, and then it stopped recording. So I'm just going to quickly re-record this second half now. I apologize if it's in a slightly different position, but the mic issue is fixed, so it should be better all round for you. Now, getting back to what we were doing. Before I go any further, I will show you how to flash it over the serial console. So that's with a USB connection to this port back here. So if you do screw up any of your images and you need to start from scratch again, you can flash it from U-boot, and that's what I'll show you. The reason I was stopping here is because you never want to have, say, power in here and then put PoE power in. You only ever want to have one source of power, just because things can go wrong sometimes. So I'll leave this unplugged for a moment. I'm going to plug this in here, and I'll get PuTTY ready on this other screen. We'll just plug this in. Now, I will reset it in a moment. This is just so that we get the COM port that we want here. And then back on the main screen, I'm just going to launch PuTTY. So there you go. Let's go serial. Open this one up. And look, it's already booting. What I'm going to do now is essentially interrupt that boot. So I'm going to hit this reset button to restart it. And then what you'll see is that you get 3 seconds to interrupt it. So in 3, 2, 1, boom, rebooting. And you'll see here in a moment, it's going to give us a little quick 3-second countdown timer right there. Now, that's what we want to interrupt. Now here, all you got to do, HTTPD for HTTP daemon, and then just an IP address that's free on your network. So for me, that's 10.42.20.222. It's going to pick through your interfaces, and if you're as daft as me, I'm going to quickly plug one in. Crap, there we go. All right, got one plugged in. I just jammed it in there. Is it going to pick it up or do I have to do it again? That was my fault. I should have had it plugged in first, but you know, you live and you learn, and now you get to see more of timeouts. Now we try it again. Instant, working straight away. Now this does actually take a hot minute sometimes, so I'll copy and paste this, and if we go over, sometimes it's not this time. If you saw before, I edited and I added some text, I actually downloaded the wrong image. So now we're going to use the correct image. And I've of course used this device since. It's been quite happily in production, but I've got a backup and I'm just happy to wipe it again for the sake of recording this and showing you how to use it. Now, whilst it's updating over here, you can see what it's doing, which is handy if you're not sure if it's going to work the way that it should, or if, you know, if it worked successfully. Worked and successfully is a bit of an oxymoron, I guess. We're back to the same thing. That's already flashed. That's already working. Now, I've got a backup that I will restore eventually, but I'm going to go through the same factory setup essentially so that you can see how it all gets pieced together. Alrighty, now that is booted back up, we do have a little bit of housekeeping to do because I want to access it whilst it's connected with PoE. And that of course means, you know, I'm going to unplug this from here and plug it into here, but that's a WAN port. So I won't actually be able to configure it, and it doesn't even have an IP address yet. So let's quickly do that. Back here, what we're going to want to do is probably use the UCI commands because they're the easiest. We go UCI set network.lan.ipaddr equals whatever address is free on your network. So I'm going to use that one. Now, if you don't actually set a lan.net mask, it's going to default to localhost, like all, not on your network. It's going to default to that, which isn't what you want. So we're going to set that as well. Ooh, missed an exclamation mark there. And then what you want to do is UCI commit, which specify network. However, there is one more thing, of course, that port that I want to use is in the WAN interface, not the LAN interface, as I said. So I'm also just going to go through here. And if we go down to this WAN interface with ETH4, now we can just rip that straight out. We don't need it. We can see the changes we made in here. I do not know what happened there. All right, that's fixed. And here, list port ETH4. Now, if I save that, you can use Vim, Nano, Emacs, whatever you want. I just like VI or Vim. Init.d network restart. That's going to restart the networking and everything's going to come back up. So being fairly confident in that now, what I'm going to do is back over here, unplug this, and now it's time to finally have some PoE power. So we plug that in, boom, little blue light, little phantom network light, it's booting up. And if we come back here, we can see it going through much the same rigmarole, except when this time, when it boots up, we're going to have our static IP address and the WAN interface access. And we can see that by going ping -t, which means don't time out, to that IP address that we set. I've got no idea why it defaulted to 255.255.255.255. I don't recall that happening in previous tests, but you live and you learn. It's worth checking for. I also feel like I typed it correctly the first time. Who knows? Give this a moment. There we go. Nice and quick on the LAN. So that has booted back up. LuCI sometimes takes a moment longer. So if we go in here, nope, it's already there. You can log in straight away, no password. This is personal preference. No, I don't want to update. Yes, I'm happy to save and apply that. You should set a password straight away as well, because you might just forget if you don't do it up front. So I'm going to go to configuration, and I'm going to set my stock standard, nearly a password 1234 sort of password in there. Now, back here, we can see we have 6.12 kernel. We've got our 25.12.2 build, and everything should be very happy. Now, there are two last things we should be doing right now. The first one is, of course, we didn't set a gateway earlier. So if we want any internet access, we're going to have to set that. And then on this interface, I'm just going to set Cloudflare as my DNS server. So if we save and apply that, I'm fairly confident that that's all correct. But if you're not sure, you can use these diagnostic tools they have built in. So go ahead and ping. Yes, there we go. We have a working router. Now, well, we had a working router before. We have a working router with internet access now, which is a little bit handy. From here, you can go and do some things that we weren't actually able to do before. Now, for me, first of all, I want to remove DNS mask and the IPv4 and IPv6 DHCP server. Look at how fast this is. This is just beautiful. Ripping all of this out. Snappy, 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 clean out the crud. And then, as I said, for my use case, WireGuard. Available. What? Update. All right, so I was a little impatient there. I don't know if any of you had caught yet. That's working now, but the time and date here was wrong earlier. I hadn't waited for NTP to kick in yet. NTP kicked in within 60 seconds and then the software update worked. So as I was trying to do before, I want some WireGuard. So I'm going to install WireGuard tools. Should be very, very quick because these systems are tiny. It's really impressive to say the least. That's WireGuard tools installed, and I want to install the LuCI protocol for it. This is now functioning for me as a router. It's not competing with my own router. You wouldn't normally remove DNS and DHCP, but I'm using this as a router on the stick just to do some site-to-site VPN with WireGuard. For your own use case, it's going to be, custom or different, but out of the box, this thing is fast, snappy, works a treat. As of March, just gone, like a week ago, this thing is awesome. Before then, wouldn't have touched it. And this has been sitting on my shelf for some time now. It was just luck that when I finally got around to it, they released 25.12.2. Now, what I'm gonna do next is I actually have this very nice case to put it in. So it's got your ports on the front there. It's got some antenna ports if you're adding them in, and it's got more antenna ports if you need 100 antenna ports. It's very good little case, and it's got wall mounts too. So I'm going to be mounting this in its case. I'm going to be restoring the backup because I've already been twiddling with this before I realized I screwed my audio up, or it didn't work for me. And that's that. I'm very happy. It has been working a treat for the last couple of days. I'm sorry this video is out on a Monday if I get it done today. Now, in case you've forgotten as well, I do, as I said earlier, have Patreon. I'd love it if you want to join, even if just for free. But if you can chuck a couple of bucks over, starts at $3 US a month. That's $4 Australian. Otherwise, hit the link below and in the first comment to go check out PCBWay because they continue to sponsor us and they're really good champs. Thank you for coming along though. Thank you for sitting through me re-recording this. I have my whiskey here. I'm going to finish whilst I start editing it, and hopefully I'll get this out to you tonight because I am very impressed with this device. I don't make any money from selling these. I might try to stick an affiliate link down there, but it's awesome. RISC-V is awesome. Open source is awesome. Power over Ethernet is awesome. Well-made products, and the sort of community love that this gets is always awesome. So thank you to you for liking, subscribing, all the things you're supposed to do. Thank you to the patrons, especially whose name should be coming up here-ish about there. And thank you to PCBWay. I'll catch all of you guys in the next video. Take it easy.